The Merchant of Venice is written by William Shakespeare. In the Act 3 of Scene 1, we have learnt about the wreckage of ship of Antonio in the northeast coast near the Goodwins. This message was carried by Salarino, and there was a deep discussion between Salarino and Salanio. In the deep discussion, we had come to know that Antonio's ship had been wrecked in the sea, which carried a heavy loads. It's a cargo ship. Okay, since Antonio's ship was wrecked in the coast of northeast coast, Shylock was very happy because Shylock and Antonio were on the same field of lending the loans to the people, but Antonio used to lend the loans without expecting the interest, but Shylock used to lend the loan by acquiring the interest. So when the loan giving event went on with Antonio and Shylock, the competition began. When the competition began, Shylock thought Antonio will become bankrupt if he couldn't able to pay the fatal bond sum, so that he will be drowned and he can ask for the pound of flesh from Antonio. This made Shylock to feel very happy. The other incident which was brought to Shylock was his daughter Jessica had ran away with Lorenzo by taking the jewels and the wealth of Shylock, which shaped out the status of Shylock. So these are the two incidents that had happened in the life of Shylock and Antonio. Now let us understand the dialogue. After becoming a prodigal, what Antonio dares to do it, let us learn about in the further scenes. Let me read it out. The dialogue which has been written by Shylock, which has been spoken by Shylock, that is, to bait fish withal, if it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. He hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated my enemies. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew's eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why revenge? The villainy, you reach me, I will execute and it shall go hard, but I will better instruction. Now, in this extract, what has been spoken by Shylock, he says that he means bait of fish means the flesh of Antonio. Who is responsible for harming Shylock? Antonio. You know that there are many ways between the relationship of Christians and the Jews. The Christians and the Jews are alike. In what sense they are alike? In their wishes, in their desires, in their feelings, in their emotions. The Jews have hands also, they have organs also, they have limbs also, they have senses like the Christians. But what they used to do, they used to eat the same food. What is offered to both of them only. They are wounded with the same weapons, liable to suffer from the same diseases. They are getting cured from the same diseases using the same medicines only. But a Christian, when he is targeted by the Jews, his only aim is to take a revenge. Now, how will this Shylock match the villainy of the Christians? Here, in this extract, the author, William Shakespeare, he wants to say that Shylock is practicing the villainy. He is a villain in this extract, and he will do his level best to improve upon the lesson which is taught by the Christians. So Shylock believes in tit for tat. That means whatever you do, you will get it back done by them to you. So here, is Shylock justified in his complaint? Yes or no? Here, you know that Antonio and Shylock are in the same field, giving the financial support to the commoners. But when judging the case by Shylock's version of the facts, Antonio has always been most unjust to him. In which sense he is unjust to him? That is, according to Shylock's account, Antonio has furthermore, by hindering Shylock's transactions and been instigating Shylock's enemies against them. Now here in this last sentence, what does Shylock's speech says? He says that Christians have been treating the Jews in the most wicked and the cruel manner. And now he too would follow the same example of the Christians and would treat the children of Christian Antonio in the same way. Antonio is a Jew, Shylock is a Christian. Okay, so Shylock would treat the Christian Antonio more crueler manner than the Christians have been treating the Jews. Okay, so here Shylock, he wants to try to be better to give the instruction. What he says that he certainly tries to be the cause for Antonio's death. Antonio is a Christian, while Christian Antonio had limited his cruelty towards the Jew only to the extent disgracing him, ridiculing him, thwarting him, bargaining with him, and harassing him. But Shylock doesn't succeed in his purpose. What he does is he exerts himself to the most effort close to his object and creating him to be deprived from the opportunity. Now when does this opportunity is got by Shylock is when Antonio's ship, the cargo ship, was wrecked in the northeast coast. When this news is catered by Salarino's conversation and the Salanio's conversation, he feels that he can take a revenge on Antonio because Antonio had already entered into the fatal bond of 3,000 ducats where he has to pay if he doesn't fulfill the fatal bond, a pound of flesh. So this made Antonio to take a revenge on Shylock to take a revenge on Antonio. Okay, so in the speech by Shylock has become very famous because it contains a factual account of how the Christians of the time were treated by the Jews, because this is a kind of interracial prejudice and the hostility till today it exists in certain communities. Okay, so here the antagonism between the Jews and the Christians does not exist no longer. In fact, in the speech, the persecution of the Jews have been suffering from many centuries from the hands of Christians. But we have here the account of the injustice which the followers of one religion have been suffering at the hands of fanatical followers of the other religion. The wordings of the account and the logical reasoning behind the account are really very superb in this explanation. And this speech is an example of rhetoric and oratory. Oratory in the sense of the oral conversation when it occurs between the two persons. A person becomes orator. One who speaks fluently is called as an orator. So here the Shylock situation is mentioned here, and it has been told that he will execute this villainy and teach Antonio the lesson. Okay, this is what in the speech does the Shylock says. So he says that he will be scorned. What happens here it is, to bait fish with all means, he wants to feed Antonio by taking a revenge. Shylock wants to feed. So for that, he plans the conspiracy. But in the conspiracy time when he is thinking of this, at that time, a servant enters into the scene and he says that, "Gentlemen, my master Antonio is at his house and desires to speak to you both." So the message is carried by a servant saying that Antonio wants to speak to you both. Who are the both? Salarino and the Salanio. So Salarino says that we have been and down to seek him. We have been and down to seek him means we have been here to speak to him and we are ready to find out the answer from him. Seek him means seeking and help. That is to conversate with him. So here Salanio replies saying that here comes another of the tribe, a third cannot be matched unless the devil himself turn Jew. Who is the devil in this extract? Shylock is the devil in this extract. When he enters inside the scene, Salanio and the Salarino and the servant goes out and there is an entry of Tubal. So when Tubal enters, he is another Jew, Shylock's friend. Shylock exclaims at him, "How now, Tubal? What news from Genoa? Has thou found my daughter?" So here Jessica had eloped with Lorenzo and he has sought the help of Bassanio's ship, but Bassanio's ship has already left. So he did not have any source in order to identify his daughter where she is flown away. So what happens? He tries to get the message from Tubal and he asks Tubal, "Did you get any news from Geneva?" Genoa means Geneva, about his daughter. Tubal says, "I often came where I did hear of her but cannot find her." So Tubal replies that he had come often but he wants to hear about Jessica but he couldn't find her. So when Shylock replies by saying that, "Why there he exclaims, 'A diamond gone, cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt.'" So here Shylock has lost a diamond costing to about 2000 ducats in Frankfurt. Okay, so the curse never fell upon out nation till now. I never felt it till now. 2000 ducats in that and other precious jewels. So he puts a blame on his own daughter Jessica that she had taken a diamond along with her costing to about 2000 ducats which has been brought in the Frankfurt. Okay, so when he identifies and he tells to Tubal that 2000 ducats has been lost, his own daughter had taken away the jewels of Shylock. This made Shylock to get depressed. So he says that I would my daughter were dead at my foot. He wants to kill his daughter. He can't forgive his daughter. Instead he says that his daughter had taken away 2000 ducats along with her. As a punishment that I'm going to give is the death of my own daughter under my foot because she has taken inner ear. Okay, so she would be pierced at my foot and the ducats in her coffin. So what he says that what is spent in a search, he says about it. Why thou loss upon loss? The thief gone with so much and so much to find the thief, and no satisfaction, no revenge, nor no ill luck stirring, but the lights on my shoulders, no sighs but of my breathing, no tears but of my shedding. He is almost in tears, he is in grief. So when he is in grief, he says that he tries so much to search her, to feed her, but he did not feel any satisfaction, though his own daughter has taken the diamond along with him. That means here the value of father and the daughter is ignored, and here the wealth is considered here. Okay, so here he says that what lies on my shoulder she had taken, it is a precious jewel that she has taken, and the value of that I tried to snatch it from her but I couldn't find her. But I'm almost inside. I'm tired of searching her. But I'm still breathing. I shed my tears, but no more shedding of tears now. So when Shylock says these words, Tubal says, yes, other men have ill luck too, Antonio, as I heard in Genoa. So when this conversation occurs between Tubal and Shylock, suddenly Tubal uses an opportunity and he says about Antonio that he had heard a news from Geneva. Shylock says, what ill luck? He exclaims. He eagerly wants to know what is happening with Antonio. Tubal says, hath an organic castaway coming from Tripolis. He says that I just now received a message from the merchant ship saying that he has lost his merchant ship which has been coming from the port Lebanon. Tripolis means port of Lebanon. Shylock says, I thank God. Isn't true? He wants to know about the status of Antonio. So he says that he thanks Lord for putting Antonio in trouble because he gets an opportunity to take a revenge against Antonio. Tubal says, I spoke with some of the sailors that escaped the wreck. So what happened here? Tubal, he gives a message about the sailor escaping from who is the sailor? Antonio's sailors were there, you know. These sailors spoke with, who's that? Tubal. And Tubal carries the message about the wreckage of the ship. Shylock says, I thank thee, good Tubal. Good news. Ahaha. Where in Genova? So he exclaims, he feels very happy when his bosom friend turned out to be the enemy. When he receives his disaster, he feels very happy. So, Tubal, your daughter spent in Genova, as I heard, in one night, 4 ducats. So, Tubal says about his daughter. Who's the daughter now? Jessica is a daughter. So, Tubal gives a message about Jessica, that Shylock's daughter spent her day in Geneva, and she has spent 1/4 night, 1/4 ducats, 80 ducats. That's the meaning of it. So, one night means, in single one night, 4 means 80 ducats has been spent. Okay. So, Shylock replies, thou stickest a dagger in me. I shall never see my gold again. 4 ducats at a sitting. 4 ducats. He started he started getting angry on his own daughter, who has spent 4 ducats in Geneva, in that ship. When Tubal says, there came divers of Antonio's creditors in company to Venice, that swear he cannot choose but break. So here, Tubal also gives a message of Antonio, saying that Antonio's company, which is in Venice, he couldn't able to break the bond. That means he had signed the fatal bond saying that he will pay the ducats. If he is not able to pay his debt, he will hand over a pound of flesh to Shylock. When he cannot able to bear the company's loss, which is incurred through the wreckage of the ship, Shylock feels very glad of it, and will persecute him. I will torture him. I am glad of it. He says that he is going to torture him, and he is going to feel very happy about it. Then Tubal says like this. One of them showed me a ring that he had of your daughter for a monkey. Tubal says that his daughter, whose daughter, Shylock's daughter, Jessica, has exchanged a ring for a monkey. So Shylock replies, out upon her, thou torturest me, Tubal. It was my torqueso. I had it of Leah. When I was a bachelor, I would not have given it for a wilderness of monkeys. Shylock says that because it was an exchange of a ring. So he feels, damn her. He exclaims, out upon her. The meaning of out upon her is damn her. Thou torturest me. It was my torqueso. Torqueso means it's a blue stone. Greenish blue precious stone is called as a torqueso. So that torqueso has been exchanged with the monkey's wilderness. Tubal says, but Antonio is certainly undone. Antonio is in trouble. He's not done anything. Shylock, nay, that's true, that's very true. Go, Tubal, fee me an officer, bespec him a fortnight before. I will have the heart of him. If he forfeit for where he is out of Venice, I can make what merchandise I will. Go, Tubal, and meet me at our synagogue. Go good Tubal at our synagogue Tubal. Now in this last extract what has been spoken by Shylock, he says that he had lost his daughter have exchanged his ring for the sake of a monkey. Who is that monkey? Let's see in the further scene. So here Shylock says that Tubal fetch me an officer before the fortnight, so that we'll have the heart of him. If he forfeit, if he snatches and he get not out of the Venice, I can make what merchandise I will. That means he will sell. Tubal and Shylock, they wanted to meet at a synagogue. That's a small Jewish place of worship. He exclaims, "Good Tubal," and the conversation stops. That ends the Act 3, Scene 1, which has been explained by William Shakespeare. Thank you. You will be seeing in the next video.